Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Thursday, and all of today's guests, including Farhan, standing by, are brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Tough go in Prince George for the Giants this week. They went 0-2 after being pretty hot the last 6 or 7 games before that. Giants' next home game Saturday night at the LEC when they take on Kelowna. Puck drop 7 p.m. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single game tickets, flex packs, and more. Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Just before we get to Farhan from Valley Dale, well, that NFL thing bombed.
Well,
I think we need to up the music.
Yeah, the music
volume
was
needs
too
to be
low,
a little
Ryan.
bit louder, okay, in the future. But it will work, trust me.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the highlights for a third time?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Let's bring in Farhan Lalji from TSN. Farhan, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good. What's up, boys? How you been?
Very, very well. What's your assignment this weekend? Wild card weekend. There's college football playoff games going on. What's going on?
I will be in LA Monday for the Rams and Vikings, unless, of course,
Yes.
that game gets moved to Arizona, which they're talking about. And I was supposed to be in Dallas tomorrow for the Cotton Bowl, but things changed. And when I see what's going on weather-wise in Dallas with the snow and ice storms, it's probably not a bad thing. So, just keeping an eye on as much football as I can and throwing a bit of Canucks when there's a minute.
Vikings and Rams somewhere. Is that one tough to call?
You know, it is, because when you look at the Rams, they're such a good football team. And, talent-wise, they're just as good as the Vikings, if not better. I think home field definitely played a lot into that game to end the regular season. But the Rams, the way they finished the year, and forget the last game when they sat half their guys against Seattle, but prior to that, this was a team that was rolling, and it was a team that you might not want to play. They were that team in the NFC that you don't want to see them in the first round of the playoffs, especially if you've got to go to LA to play them. So when you look at what Matthew Stafford is doing, and the fact that, you finally got this season, at the back end of the season, you've got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both healthy. And that's as good a receiving tandem as anybody. I mean, you look at Jefferson and Addison, you look at Jameson and Jefferson in Minnesota. I mean, there's some elite tandems out there, but that duo is as good as any. So I think they could give the Vikings a lot of trouble.
Does Denver have a shot in Buffalo?
Nope. I can't see it. I think they're going to ask Bo Nix to get very much outside of his comfort zone. Josh Allen is playing at such a high level right now. I mean, he has single-handedly won so many games. The supporting cast around him offensively is better, so they don't have to completely lean on him. The run game's better, the O-line's better, the receiving core is significantly deeper. So I know that people look at the MVP race and they see Lamar Jackson and they see that his numbers across the board are better than they were a year ago when he was MVP. Josh Allen's my MVP. He is incredible right now. And, can they beat Kansas City in Kansas City in an AFC championship if they get there? We'll see. But I don't think anybody else is going to stop Buffalo other than maybe Kansas City.
Farhan, BC Lions, they acquired offensive lineman Dijon Allen from the Argos. That's the most outstanding offensive lineman last year in the CFL. Hey, when you got a quarterback like Nathan Rourke, you better be able to protect him, and this is going to go a long way in doing that, you think?
Absolutely. Tackle was one of their issues. They've got issues across the board, right? So they've changed the offensive line coach. I don't think they're going to be done with this change. But Dijon Allen, 2023, league's most outstanding lineman, 2-time All-Canadian, 2-time Grey Cup champion, all of those things. They're changing the makeup of their team a little bit in terms of where they move their Canadians. So last year you saw where they played 2 Canadian at linebackers quite a bit. They're not going to do that this year. They might not start any Canadians at linebacker. We'll see how that goes. But they were dealing from a position of strength by moving on Ryder Varga. And you got a guy that can sit there and plug and play. He's going to get paid a lot. But again, I do think there are going to be some other changes along the offensive line and elsewhere on offense so they can accommodate some of these other pieces. But they have to get the offensive line right. And Dijon Allen goes a long way towards doing that.
All right, let's go to the Canucks. Another overtime loss, 7 straight in OT. They're 4-10 after regulation. This club just has all sorts of problems when they got to play either overtime or shootout.
Yeah, they do, and they just don't have the ability to make up for any small mistake, right? I mean, remember a couple of games ago they lost in overtime where Tyler Myers comes across and fires it behind everybody else, and it goes back the other way. And here, he didn't put it behind everybody, but certainly the puck skipped over. I think it was JT Miller, and it goes back the other way. And Kevin Lankinen played great in that game, but that was a tough save on that sequence, and the puck goes around the boards, and all three Canucks are now chasing it into the corner, so you've got two Capitals clear. So somebody made a mistake there, and it wasn't the goaltender. But and then listening to Rick Tocchet's comments after the game saying we were 40 seconds away from a shootout. Well, you might not have won the shootout, right? I mean, I know they won the last one, but there's no guarantee that happens because the Caps are a team with a ton of offensive skill that can succeed in a shootout. But look, the one thing I will say is their effort level was extremely high. And I know we're not about moral victories right now, but they really put it out there. And at times in the first period, it looked like they were going to get run out of the rink. I thought the second and third period, they really stabilized and played a lot better. And, obviously when Hughes is playing, you're going to look better, but Pettersson's still not in the lineup. So I think there was something to get, there was a takeaway there, whereas at home, I've really questioned their effort at times along with their focus. I thought it looked a lot better for 40 minutes last night, and this team finds a way to manufacture points, even though they haven't been great overall. So let's see what happens if Pettersson gets back in the lineup for their next game.
Let's get back to football for a second, Farhan, if you don't mind, and I know you don't mind. Rex Ryan, are you buying Rex Ryan back to the New York Jets?
Woody Johnson's a weird guy, right? When he came into the league, he was this cutting-edge, innovative owner, and now he's kind of theater of the bizarre, right? So the fact that he's even getting an interview makes me raise my eyebrows. Could he do it? Could Woody do it? Yeah, I could. If any owner in the league could, it probably is him. When you look at some of the things that happened in New York and how they handle the coach and quarterback situation, Robert Saleh shouldn't have been fired. So if you're going to make that decision, maybe you can make an even more bizarre one by bringing back Rex Ryan. I don't think it'd be a good move. I think he's been out of it too long. And, I don't know that he relates to today's player. But, look, I'll never say never with an owner like that.
One more. Curtis Rourke. We brought up Nathan Rourke earlier. Rick did. How did he play almost an entire season with a torn ACL? I know you're not a doctor.
No, I'm not a doctor, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night. But look, I think Curtis is a tough guy, number one. But the position at quarterback doesn't necessarily demand you run around and do a lot, right? Other players have managed to do that, play an extended period of time. We saw Alex Singleton play a full game on an ACL tear that he suffered at the start of the year. So this happened in training camp, and Curtis had a decision to make, right? Because he'd been through the rehab from this injury, which happened at the end of the 2022 season, right? So he played 2023, and now at the beginning of 24, this happens. And, you're so close to the end after having already done 5 years of college football. He could have, I suppose, taken a year off and then come back next year fully healthy, but decided he wanted to just kind of take his chances. And now it's going to affect his draft stock. There's no doubt about it. He was probably going to be in that third round range, maybe high fourth round, and now it'll probably cause him to slip a little bit. But if you're in the third round, it's not like a team is going to expect you to play right away. So he's still going to have time. I know his agent said that he expects him to be ready for training camp. I think that's a real reach, but again, I'm not a doctor. It just seems like they may have come back a little too soon the last time, and now we'll see where it goes. It's not like the Adrian Peterson days where you can come back after 6 months. I think this injury is going to take some time, but I still think he's going to get drafted. And his game is not based on running around. It never has been. So, I do think he can find the best of his ability once he's healthy again.
You see him in the CFL one day. I mean, all the best to him, Canadian kid. You want to see him do well in the National Football League, but do you see him in the CFL one day?
I do. And I say that just because of the odds, right? And I think it's going to be really difficult for a mid to late round draft pick to eventually, be that guy. Now, look, Curtis has got a lot of talent, in terms of measurables. He fits the NFL profile coming out of college more than Nathan did. So I do think he'll get an opportunity there as a draft pick. But, we see what the hit rate is on these guys if you get drafted late in terms of your odds of having a long NFL career. And I do think he loves football and will want to play. And the fact that his brother's playing in this league, I think bodes well for this league. You see a lot of players that they'll run around there for 3 or 4 years and then they'll never come up here, even if their career's over. I don't think that would happen with Curtis.
Well, wherever you're headed this weekend, safe travels, and we'll talk to you next week, Farhan.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games. It should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.